The Queen's Birthday Honours 2008 were appointments by some of the 16 Commonwealth realms to various orders and honours to recognise and reward good works by citizens of those countries. The birthday honours are awarded as part of the Queen's official birthday celebrations during the month of June. The Queen's Birthday Honours were announced on the 14th of June 2008 in the United Kingdom, the 9th of June 2008 in Australia, on the 2nd of June 2008 in New Zealand, and on the 14th of June 2008 in Barbados, the Bahamas, Grenada, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, St. Lucia, and Belize. The recipients of honours are displayed as they were styled before the new honour and arranged by the country whose ministers advised the Queen on the appointments, then by honour with grades i.e. Knight, Dame, Head Cross, Knight, Dame, Commander, etc., and then divisions i.e. Civil, Diplomatic and Military as appropriate. United Kingdom, Knight's Bachelor Dr. James Anderson, CBE. For public and voluntary service, William Atkinson, Head Teacher, Phoenix High School, Hammersmith and Fulham, London. For services to education and to community relations, Trevor Lloyd Baker, Walsall Hospitals NHS Trust. For services to clown entertainment in the West Midlands, RT. Hon Alan Beth, MP, Member of Parliament for Berwick-upon-Tweed. For services to Parliament, Professor Drummond Bone, F.RSc, Vice-Chancellor, University of Liverpool. For services to higher education and to regeneration in the North West, Professor Christopher Richard Watkin Edwards. For services to higher education, medical science and to regeneration in the North East, Mark Philip Elder CBE, Conductor and Music Director, the Halle Orchestra. For services to music, Leonard Raymond Fenwick, C.B.E., Chief Executive, Newcastle upon Tyne Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust. For services to healthcare and to the community in Tyne and Wear, Dr. Philip John Hunter, C.B.E., Chief Schools Adjudicator. For services to education, Moore Lockhead OBE, Chief Executive, First Group. For services to transport, Professor Andrew James McMichael, F.RS, Professor of Molecular Medicine and Director, Wetherill Institute of Molecular Medicine, University of Oxford. For services to medical science, William Moorcroft, Principal, Trafford College. For services to local and national further education, William Desmond Sargent, C.B.E., Executive Chair, Better Regulation Executive Department for Business, Enterprise and Regulatory Reform. For services to business, Michael John Snyder. For services to business and to the City of London Corporation, Paul Robert Stevenson QPM, Deputy Commissioner, Metropolitan Police Service. For services to the police, Professor Anthony John Newman Taylor, C.B.E., lately Chair, Industrial Injuries Advisory Council. For public service, Peter Viggers, MP, Member of Parliament for Gosport. For services to Parliament, Professor Nicholas John Wall, Professor of Environmental and Preventive Medicine, Wolfson Institute of Preventive Medicine, Queen Mary, University of London. For services to preventive medicine, Diplomatic and Overseas List Dr. Richard J. Roberts. For services to molecular biology and UK Science, USA. Order of the Bath, Knights Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath Military Division, Royal Navy Admiral Sir Jonathan Band, K. C.B.A. D.C. Royal Air Force Air Chief Marshal Sir Glenn Lester Torpey, K. C.B.C. B.E.D. S.O.A. D.C. Knights Commander of the Order of the Bath Military Division, Army Lieutenant General Nick Houghton, C.B.E. Dames Commander of the Order of the Bath, Helen Frances Ghosh, Permanent Secretary, Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Companions of the Order of the Bath Military Division, Royal Navy Rear Admiral Richard Jeffrey Ibbotson, D.Sc. Rear Admiral Paul Lambert, Army Major General Gary Robert Coward, O.B.E. Major General Gerald Cavendish Grosvenor, the Duke of Westminster, K.G.O.B.E. T.D.D.L. Royal Air Force Air Vice Marshal Stephen Chisnell, Civil Division Timothy John Burr, Controller and Auditor General, National Audit Office, Louise Casey. For Public Service, Jeremy Carl Groombridge, Director of Transformation and Product Management, Job Center Plus. For Public and Voluntary Service, Lynn Homer, Chief Executive, Border and Immigration Agency. For Public and Voluntary Service, William Roy Junkin, Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions for Northern Ireland, Stephen Quinn, Permanent Secretary, Department of Enterprise, Trade and Investment, Northern Ireland Executive. Order of St. Michael and St. George, Knights, Grand Cross of the Order of St. Michael and St. George, Diplomatic Division, no appointments. Knights Commander of the Order of St. Michael and St. George, Diplomatic Division, Jeffrey Doyne Adams, C.M.G. HM Ambassador, Iran. Nigel Kim Darry, C.M.G. UK Permanent Representative, Brussels. Companions of the Order of St. Michael and St. George, Civil Division, Diplomatic Division, Michael David Apted. For services to the British film and television industries, USA, Nigel Conrad Chapman, Director of the BBC World Service and Chair of the BBC World Service Trust. For services to international broadcasting, Michael James Crawford, Consulate Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Karen Elizabeth, Mrs. Pierce, UK Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, New York. Mark Sedwell, lately Director, UKVIS's Foreign and Commonwealth Office, Home Office. David Arthur Slynn, O.B.E., lately Head, Provincial Reconstruction Team, Helmand, Afghanistan. Anthony Donald Raymond Smith, Director, European Political Affairs, Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Nicholas Simon Sirrett, Consulate Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Royal Victorian Order, Dames Commander of the Royal Victorian Order Miss Julia Charity Cleaverton, C.V.O.C.B.E., formerly Chief Executive Business in the Community. Knights Commander of the Royal Victorian Order Hugo Lawrence Joseph Brunner, J.P., Lord Lieutenant of Oxfordshire. Charles Michael Henderson, the Lord Farrington, Lord-in-Waiting to the Queen. Commodore Robert Cameron Hasty, C.B.E.R.D., J.P., formerly Lord Lieutenant of West Glamorgan. Commanders of the Royal Victorian Order Nicholas Clark Adamson, L.V.O.O.B.E., Private Secretary to the Duke of Kent. Robin Orr Blair, L.V.O., formerly Lord Leon King of Arms and Secretary of the Order of the Thistle. William Edward Chapman, formerly Prime Minister's Secretary for Appointments. Robert George Clinton, formerly Senior Partner, Farah and Ampco LLP. Professor John Cunningham, Head of the Medical Household and Physician to the Queen. Brigadier Donald Graham Hardy, T.D., J.P., formerly Lord Lieutenant of Dunbartonshire. Miss Diane Elizabeth Morecambe, formerly Secretary of the Cabinet and Clerk of the Executive Council in New Zealand. Miss Rachel Ann Wells, L.V.O., Assistant Secretary, Central Chancery of the Orders of Knighthood. Lieutenants of the Royal Victorian Order Nigel Joseph Arch, Director, Kensington Palace, Historic Royal Palaces. Alan Bridgewater, C.B.E. for services to the Duke of Edinburgh's Commonwealth Study Conferences. Miss Pamela Margaret Clark, M.V.O., Registrar, Royal Archives. Veronica Ann, Mrs. Cortis, Co-Director and Chief Executive, The Prince of Wales's Business in the Environment Programme. Philip Brian Everett, Deputy Ranger, Windsor Great Park Crown Estate. Miss Angela Christine Mary Halen O.B.E. formerly Trustee, Historic Royal Palaces. Nicholas Eltham Kidd Training Captain Aircraft Captain, The Queen's Helicopter Flight. Martin Ronald Watson Partner, Forest House Veterinary Group. Dr. David Anthony Zeidman Honorary Physician to the Queen. Members of the Royal Victorian Order: Jennifer Margaret, Mrs. Cannon, Legal Executive, Farah and Amp Co. LLP, Squadron Leader Jane Susan Casebury, Royal Air Force, Equerry to the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall. Frances Amelia, Mrs. Eason, Senior Secretary, The Princess Royal's Household. Diane, Mrs. Eddie, Administration Secretary, Balmoral Estate. Miss Angela Michelle Edwards, Information Officer, Press Office, Royal Household. Sergeant Christopher John Gislingham, Metropolitan Police, for services to royalty protection. Terence Dennis Goff, Head of Gardens and Estates, Historic Royal Palaces. Jill Patricia, Mrs. Hudman, formerly Administrator, the Royal Warrant Holders Association. Roderick Andrew Lane, Head Book Conservator, Royal Library, Windsor Castle. Christopher Paul Matthews, Deputy Land Steward, Western District, Duchy of Cornwall. Miss Moira McDougall, Secretary to the Resident Factor, Balmoral Estate. Superintendent Timothy Andrew Marriott Nash, Metropolitan Police, for services to royalty protection. Miss Caroline Lucy Whitaker, Assistant Surveyor of the Queen's Pictures, Royal Collection. Royal Victorian Medal Bat to the Royal Victorian Medal David Cartledge, R.V.M., Senior Stallion Handler, Royal Studs. Royal Victorian Medal Charles Thomas Bouch, formerly Yeoman Bedgoet, the Queen's Bodyguard of the Yeoman of the Guard. Paul Lawrence Birch, Gamekeeper, Sandringham Estate. Bernadette Therese, Mrs. Darban, Telephone Operator, Royal Household. Corporal Brian Diggle, or Orderly to the Duke of Edinburgh. John Paul Fallis, Warden, The Great Park, Windsor Crown Estate. Peter Ivor Jeffrey, Estate Foreman, Eastern District, Duchy of Cornwall. Margaret Susan, Mrs. Mattox, Telephone Operator, Royal Household. Paul David Murray, Senior Storeman, Master of the Households Department, Royal Household. Maria Size Altine, Mrs. Pecci, Housekeeper to Princess Alexandra, the Honourable Lady Ogilvy. Paul Eric Southwell, House Foreman, Sandringham Estate. Order of the Companions of Honour. Members of the Order of the Companions of Honour: Richard Rogers, the Lord Rogers of Riverside, for public service and for services to architecture. Diplomatic and Overseas List. Order of the British Empire. Dames Commander of the Order of the British Empire Civil Division Joan Dawson Bagwell CBE, broadcaster and writer. Professor Christine Joan Beasley CBE, Chief Nursing Officer, Department of Health. For public and voluntary service. Hilary Sharon Braverman Bloom, for services to the voluntary sector. Professor Janet Valerie Finch CBEDL, Vice-Chancellor, Keele University, for services to social science and to higher education. Clara Hedwig Francis Furs, Chief Executive, London Stock Exchange, for services to the financial services industry. Margaret Lady Helroyd, CBE, author, for services to literature. Donna Kinnair, Director of Clinical Leadership, Southwark Primary Care Trust, for services to nursing in London. Monica Margaret Mason, OBE, Director of the Royal Ballet, for services to dance. Barbara Mary Stocking CBE, Chief Executive, Oxfam GB, for services to humanitarian work. Commanders of the Order of the British Empire: Duncan Robinson, Edward Fitzgerald. Officers of the Order of the British Empire: Anthony Bailey, Tund Banjoko, Mallory Blackman, Russell T. Davies, John Surtees MBE, Roy Williams. Members of the Order of the British Empire: June Muriel Brown, actress, for services to drama; Paul James O'Grady, comedian and television presenter, for services to entertainment; Phyllis Mary Self, director, Whitehall Garden Centre, for services to the community in Laycock, Wiltshire. Australia. The Queen's Birthday Honours 2008 for Australia were announced on the 9th of June 2008. New Zealand. The Queen's Birthday Honours 2008 for New Zealand were announced on the 2nd of June 2008. Order of New Zealand, New Zealand Order of Merit.